Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Lauren Merkel. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkelplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
The morning news on YourIowa.com is brought to you by the Commission on U.S. Territories, striving for equal representation around the globe, and by Keep Iowa First, committed to keeping the Iowa caucuses the first in the nation contest in selecting the presidency of the United States. And now, here's your host, Brent Roske.
Folks, welcome to the program. I have a great show today. UK author Lisa Marks live from Leigh-on-Sea there in the United Kingdom. We're going to talk, as always we do on Wednesday, about Hollywood streaming picks in the mini show Hollywood Smash. This Friday, you're going to want to check out, speaking of Hollywood, there's Matt Del Negro co-starring in Showtime's new show City on a Hill. There he's co-starring with Kevin Bacon, and Matt Del Negro was in my film, Chasing the Hill. You remember Matt from other shows. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you heard of like The Sopranos, like The West Wing, but he's on City on a Hill on Showtime right now, and his season 2 is premiering Sunday. So thanks to Showtime, because they actually sent us an exclusive scene of Matt and the lead of the show, Aldous Hodge, from the edit bay. So we're going to be showing that Friday along with my chat with Matt Del Negro. Did you see the 50th episode of this show? Golden Globe winner Sally Kirkland was on there. Sally and I from the Beverly Hills Hotel a couple years ago had a big Oscar party, and also on that show, former Senator Tom Harkin live from the beach in the Bahamas. He's doing it right. You get to a certain age, you retire, you go live in the Bahamas, and you have a wonderful life. So thank you to former Senator Harkin for being on the show. And there's CJ Perry. She's co-starring with Bruce Willis in his brand new sci-fi action flick, Cosmic Sin. CJ Perry was on the program last week as well, so you're going to want to check that out. Before we chat with our first guest, who is Justin Roberts from Ketelsen RV. Folks, I love RVs. I'm an RV guy. I've owned several of them. Emmy-winning meteorologist Jason Parkin is going to tell us what's going on in weather.
Well, rain chances this morning, and the rain chances will last into the afternoon hours as well, as we take a look at weather provided to you by Clear Mortgage this morning. And behind the rain this afternoon, breezy conditions, 49 for your noontime temperature, and also at 4 p.m. So throughout the day, as you see there, temperatures stay pretty steady in the Des Moines metro area. 7-day forecast, while we get a break of the rain late Wednesday, we will see a rain chance Thursday. Not a very good one, and the same goes for Friday and Saturday. So what rain we see looks to be fairly widely scattered and fairly light. We'll be in the upper 50s Friday and Saturday. Sunday should be a decent day, 57 degrees there, and a beautiful Monday with a high of 61. We've got another rain chance ahead in your forecast for Tuesday. High temperature there will be 68 degrees.
And thanks, as always, Jason, for those. Up on the screen right now, there's some drone footage. The Cresco Theater and Opera House up there. It's a 100-year-old theater, and this is footage that I shot this last weekend, and just a great shoot. Nelson Media have to thank Chris Nelson for this job, but the Cresco Theater and Opera House, fantastic place, and just a great group of folks to film with. So if you're looking for drone footage or all that sort of thing, I am happily back in the production world. So reach out and let me know. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, just 30 seconds, and then we're going to be back with Justin. We're going to talk RVs. We're going to talk the Great Open Road. Don't go.
School of Rock is now in session in Iowa, and we're ready to help make musicians. In our patented performance-based program, students learn music in one-on-one lessons, then have band practice in a fun, safe learning environment, all leading up to their big show. Guitar, bass, piano, drums, and vocals, our local professionals teach the skills you need to be a rock star. Come check us out and get a free lesson with no strings attached. Locations in West Des Moines and Marion. Visit schoolofrock.com to learn more and start your musical journey today.
There is Justin Roberts, Ketelsen RV. How are you doing this morning, Justin?
I'm good. It was such a small world to see Jason Parkin doing weather, because that's where you and I met, gosh, years ago when I filled in for Jason. And it is a state law. I don't know if you've seen this when you go to the library at the State House, that when you retire from doing weather on TV, you have to get a goatee. That is the law. Jason started it, and I'm just following the trend. So good to see him. Good to see you this morning, too.
You as well. And what's interesting, you can see behind you with daylight savings, it is still dark and chilly here in the mornings. So we do our best to bring some sunshine to folks' day. And very grateful to you, Justin, for waking up early to be on the program with us today. So we're going to talk about one of my favorite things. I mean, top 5 on this planet is getting in an RV, scheduling out a week or two and hitting the road. I think I've owned 4 or 5 of them now.
Wow.
The most recent one, John Delaney, I ran his Iowa campaign for president. When we were done, he goes, "Hey, good job," and he handed me the keys and he gave me the RV. So I had
what
he did. He gave me the campaign RV, which has now been rehomed to a solar company up in Cedar Rapids. But he gave me the title and the keys. But it was a fantastic run. But I've owned a bunch of these puppies. Why don't you tell folks how you got into the RV world?
Well, I for years I did radio and TV in Eastern Iowa, and family friends of ours, I knew them when I first moved to Cedar Rapids, and then going through college and everything were the Ketelsens. In fact, they were probably the first folks when I moved to Cedar Rapids that knew mom and dad and knew me, and it wasn't as much of a, well, I'm homesick because I can't see the family, so I'm going to go see Gary and Debbie, or I'm going to go hang out with Trish, Jeremy, and Holly. And Gary always joked that when I was ready for a real job, instead of just, playing weather on TV, when I was ready for a real job to call him, there would be a spot for me. And I was ready to leave the broadcast world in 2019, not knowing at all what 2020 was going to bring. And I called Gary and I said, remember all those times when you said I was ready for a real job? Well, I'm ready. And we went and had lunch, and it just happened to be that their marketing person was leaving to become a full-time firefighter. So I met with the team and transitioned into the world of RVs and kind of selling dreams, really is what it was. And I've been here at Ketelsen RV now since January 2nd of 2020. And I can't tell you how great it's been, because unlike a car dealership, and there are so many good friends that you and I both have in the car dealership world, this is a place that people come to dream. They're not here because they have to be here. They have a dream. We want to go spend time with the kids. We want to go see America, and they choose to come see us. And that's the best part, helping make those dreams come true.
RVs are very similar to sailboats. This is a social activity. This is something you do when you've got free days, when you want to fill your days with laughter and taking your time and enjoying things. And yeah, you mentioned the phrase selling dreams, and yeah, it's an aspirational pursuit. There's a term out there called boondocking, and I didn't really quite understand it until I got into the boating world. You're looking out there, you're up out on the open road, and you're just looking for ports to come into. And I mean, RVing is a fascinating thing. I had a RV and some acreage out in Joshua Tree. Would go out there and just spend some of the best days and nights possible. You don't have to worry about checking into hotels and all that sort of thing. When people are coming to shop right now, I imagine that pandemic travel has changed a lot of travel plans, and I imagine your business is doing quite well right now.
Well, this leading into this year for 21, even 20, were some of probably the biggest numbers that we've seen. And I know the same is for dealers throughout Iowa, so I don't think I'm breaking any rules by speaking for everybody. But it's that, and as you well know, the freedom to, all right, we're going to pick up and go. We just want to get away from everybody. We don't want to worry about checking into a hotel. Who are we going to encounter? Let's pack up the house essentially and move it to the house on wheels and go see America. And when Governor Reynolds opened the campgrounds last year in Iowa, and I think it was officially June 15th, roughly, the phone was ringing off the hook. And boom, it was like they couldn't make enough of these RVs. Mind you, most of our inventory is made in Indiana. These factories were shut down because they too were dealing with coronavirus. And it got to the point, August 10th is the day that sticks in my mind because that's when the derecho came through Iowa. We were literally, Brent, down to about 15 RVs on our lot in Hiawatha and about 10 on our lot in DeSoto. And the storm came through, and of those 15 that we had, the storm didn't damage 2 of them. So we were now down to 2 units that we could sell. 13 of them were picked up and tossed about like toys. But people were still eager to go. They said, all right, well, when you get more in, let us know. We'll buy it. As soon as it's here, let us know. That continued through the wintertime. We're having a very strong spring because people just want to take the family and go, not have to worry about hopping on a plane, not having to worry about hopping on a train or grabbing a hotel. Just, all right, kids, let's go to let's go to Yellowstone. It's only a 12, 15-hour drive from Des Moines, or let's go down to, Louisiana. Grab the RV and go. And we're seeing young families. We're seeing families of 4. We're seeing retirees, people that either have been longtime campers or just saw it with the Robin Williams movies. Oh, I can handle that on the road now. And it's becoming a whole new lifestyle introduced to folks that maybe wouldn't have considered it before this pandemic we've gone through.
Well, and let me add some fuel to that fire. So I love staying at high-end hotels. It's just one of my favorite things, right? Well, let me tell you something. That experience isn't necessarily there right now. I just had to do some work in Washington, D.C., did some filming in the Capitol there with some elected officials. On the way back, I was like, well, I'm gonna check in. I'm gonna treat myself. We're gonna do probably the most famous hotel brand you've heard of. Very, very expensive. Probably the most expensive hotel in Cleveland. And it was not the experience that I'm used to. And I feel bad for the folks in the hotel industry because such low occupancy numbers, they've had to slash staff. So they don't have that experience you're used to right now. Whereas an RV is everything you make of it. And certainly, there's a movie out called The Leisure Seeker, which came out 2 years ago. It's Donald Sutherland, and it's about a retired couple, and they dust off the old RV and they drive it down to the Keys. And that spirit of, we're just getting started, or life is what you make of it. I bought an RV here in Des Moines and then drove it out to the Nevada caucuses, and then spent about a week living on the beachfront property RV park in Los Angeles. But people who I know who are quite wealthy were in Des Moines visiting. We were working on a production, and they said, "Can we come see it?" And I said, "Well, sure. It's parked in the yard." So they came over to see it, and they're like, "We always talked about getting one, but we never did." They ended up buying an RV. Then they ended up buying my sailboat. So it was like I gave them that permission to, say, you know what? Life is now. If you've got good health, you have to take advantage of these things. And if you can make that departure, I'm telling you, a week in an RV can feel like, the second you start the engine, you're on vacation. You don't have to go through the security line at the airport. You don't have to worry about, you go on a plane right now, you're wearing 5 different layers of protective stuff and everybody's panicked. Start the car, plan it out, and think about those challenges that, yes, you will be having certain road-related challenges, where are we going to stop for lunch and all that, but just take that in stride, because once you turn the key on, you're already on vacation.
Well, and Brent, what's the worst part about going on vacation besides getting crammed into people? It's having to share a bathroom, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got your own with you. You bring your own with you. You can bring your own toilet paper and everything with you. And they make these RVs now as fancy as a bed on wheels, essentially, or almost like having your own high-end hotel chain on 4 wheels behind you in the pickup. That's the range. And if you can dream it, it's out there to find right now.
And I'll tell you something, if you don't get one of the huge giant ones, learning to drive it is not that much of a trick. If you've ever rented a small U-Haul and driven it around town, I mean, I don't want to do your sales pitch here for you, but I love RVs. I want everybody to enjoy an RV. I think I've owned 5 of them now.
Wow.
But yeah, I just love them, and I love chatting about it. So thanks so much for being on the show. If people want to learn more about Ketelsen RV, how do they find it?
KetelsenRV.com, KetelsenRV.com. And if you can handle traffic on the Mixmaster, you can handle driving an RV through America.
Justin Roberts is selling the American dream, 4, 6, or 8 wheels at a time. Thanks so much for being on the show, buddy. I appreciate it.
You bet. It's an honor. Hope to see you again soon.
All right, folks, stick around. Author all the way from Britain, Lisa Mark's going to be with us in 15 seconds.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Hello, everybody. Live from Leon C. There is Lisa Marks. How are you doing today, Lisa?
Oh, I'm just slightly off center. So here we go. I'm fine. Really nice to see you again. Off center, just generally in life, not just on the sofa. Yeah.
I feel a bit. I feel a bit slightly off center too. Lisa, I forgot to play the intro for our mini show.
I don't even know why we bother doing it, Brent. I mean, it's the most beautiful of art.
Since we're talking Hollywood, I'm gonna click a button here, and we're gonna show. So this is some production I did last week. Look at that fancy shot I did there. That is I don't know if people know this, but I'm also a drone director of photography. So I did that shot, and I did this nice little shot with a jib here in this beautiful theater. And then there's a nice little shot here coming up from the upper deck of this is the Cresco Theater and Opera House. It's over 100 years old, and we did a marketing piece for them with Nelson Media. So just some really nice shots here, and it was just so great. I love movies. I miss the theater, and it was just so wonderful. And this is a much longer piece. This is several minutes long. We interview Wendy, who runs the theater and all that. But a little Hollywood here in Northeast Iowa, literally talking about the magic of the movies, and we just miss it.
I love it. Do you know what I love? I love the signage in America for American cinemas, especially those retro looks. We don't have them here. It's kind of dull in that respect. I mean, maybe, in Piccadilly Circus, which is in the center of London, but look at that building. I just want to sort of see the crowd streaming in again.
Yeah, it will. But yeah, that you mentioned the marquee. They spent a lot of money. This is actually the city of Cresco is involved with the finance of this. So they got some city money and local to redo that marquee because it didn't look like that originally. So, but yeah, we are here to talk about traditional Hollywood. But isn't Hollywood a state of mind, Lisa? Hollywood is where you bring it.
You can be Hollywood anyway. You can even be Hollywood in Leigh-on-Sea in Southeast Essex in the UK. It's an interesting time actually, because what I'm going to talk about today, I sort of thought, we've covered so many amazing subjects and films, haven't we, since we've been doing this? I mean, you've run 50 plus shows now. What's this, 53 or something, or 4? So congratulations for that, hitting the big 5-0.
Thank you.
But we haven't talked about films with subtitles. And we haven't gone there, and I feel like we know each other well enough, and we know the audience well enough. They're going to come with us on this journey. I just know. And so I ended up watching this weekend Another Round, which has been nominated for 2 Oscars this season, and Golden Globe and BAFTAs for Best International Film and Best International Director. So, who's Thomas Vinterberg, which real film nerds will know as the instigator of the Dogma 95 movie. Dogma 95. Ooh, it was a while ago now.
It inspired me to be a filmmaker.
Did it?
Yeah, it was very influential. Their first film, The Celebration, folks, if you haven't seen their first film, it is a stunning achievement in what I call first-person cinema. You're enveloped by this story, and when you leave, it was shot on early digital video. It feels like you were watching your memories or video of the event, and it is a heartbreaking and tragic story. But the celebration really I saw that at a 10 a.m. Oscar qualifying screening, the Laemmle Theater, Sunset Boulevard, on a Sunday at 10 a.m. I was like, wow.
Blew your mind. We should do a special on mid-90s film trends and styles, because it was a great time. But anyway, it's 2021 and here we are all stuck at home waiting for the plague to pass. But another round's really interesting, and it stars Mads Mikkelsen. I just like saying the name Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. And he plays Martin, a teacher, and along with three of his colleagues, they're all sort of hitting this, age 40, life's not gone how it should, everything's a bit boring and samey, and they're teaching kids, they're not the kids any longer, and, sort of middle age is looming, and life and dreams and marriages have become stale, and I'm not really selling it, am I? Sorry. Sorry.
The first 10 minutes, I had to stop it and start it again later, because the first 10 minutes, I'm like, let's pep it up here a little bit.
Well, you know what? I saw it billed as a comedy, and it isn't a comedy. There are some very darkly comedic moments, but it is absolutely not a comedy. I can tell you that. But it's set in Copenhagen, and it's a Danish-Swedish co-production. And, with subtitles, you have to watch. You can't be sat there on your phone with an iPhone, sort of ordering stuff online or, texting whoever and, seeing what's going on in the world. You actually have to read the words, get involved, concentrate. And I know right now, especially a year into this thing that we're all going through, this global pandemic, concentration is getting more and more difficult. I mean, I know it's not just me. I've been talking to people about this. Everyone's hit that 1 year. Not just me, everybody. And I just found it really interesting. I sort of put my phone far away. I actually had to remove it from the room so I wasn't tempted just to pick it up and go fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. And then just read the words and watch the story unfold. And I was really surprised. It was, these four guys, one of the teachers, you've watched it, decides that, or tells the others that if they perform with a sort of a required level of alcohol in their bloodstream, life will be better. So I'm summing it up very briefly, which is a 0.5% level of alcohol. So they all decide to go into school as teachers, drunk at 0.5%. And then, throughout the movie, it increases and increases with some sort of darkly comic moments, and then it takes a little turn, and then I'm not going to give anything away because I want everybody to sit there and read the words as I did and watch the film.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm glad you went back to it. Why did you go back to it? Because it's a certain pull, I feel.
But that's it. Look, I'm a lover of cinema. I watch everything from all over the world, but I will tell you right now, it's hard for me to do subtitled film. It really is. I'm looking at screens all day, and when that level of focus, it can't, like you said, it can't be on in the background. So, but that, and again, they do a very good job of showing a version of what life in 40s can be like. And it's like, you take all your worst days, that's the first 10 minutes of this film.
I know, it's so grim. And also interesting. So, I went and had a look at the history of the film, because Thomas Vinterberg obviously is this amazing director, and he also co-wrote the script as well. And this was a film inspired by his daughter, Ida, IDA, who's a teenager. And she was telling her father about Danish teenage drinking culture. And, he got inspired by this idea. And when the film, sort of got further down line, the idea was that she would be cast as Mads Mikkelsen, Martin's character's daughter. And, which is essentially about binge drinking. I mean, that's really what the movie's about. And tragically and unbelievably, and I literally just read this half an hour ago, Ida was killed in a car accident 4 days into the shoot, which obviously, was a huge, huge tragedy. And, they were undecided whether to carry on or not. And I read that, Thomas Vinterberg said he couldn't not do this movie because it was so much of his daughter was in this film. And actually, that when I read that this morning, explained a lot about the look and the feel of the movie. And also, I feel that there possibly was a shift in the perspective of the script from, just this sort of let's all get drunk and see what happens to actually, we really have to live for the now and, with what's going on around us, which, of course, trying to just make the most of every moment, which I think is a lesson a lot of us have learned.
Yeah, I had heard of her tragic death months before the film was out, and then you watch them together. What we just talked about, the celebration. He's always been quite a genius at slice of life representation, but to see such a the personal tragedy, and then move through it and make a film. Mads Mikkelsen, my favorite role of I like him very much as an actor, but when he first came on the scene, he was the bad guy in Casino Royale, which is my favorite of the James Bonds. He's the bad guy. He drips the blood when he's playing poker, and he's got the voice and all that. So to see him in this, where he does have, once it in the scenes where it takes flight, he does have some fun, and coming from him, I think it's fun to see someone have moments where he's letting loose. But again, the first bit of the movie, you're like, oh, fella, take off the khakis and have some fun. But yeah, interesting film. So yeah, another round. It goes on your. Is that one of your recommendations?
100%. I would say definitely give another round a look. It's on Hulu, streaming now, and it's it's a change of pace, but it's very well acted, and it's got a really light touch, and it's got that sort of Nordic noir kind of look, in the palette, the color palette. But then there's these enormous moments of joy. And I sort of found him slipping into somehow this sort of Christopher Walken-esque sort of character at some points during the movie. It was quite interesting, but he was great. I saw him, he was on Kimmel, and he was talking about the fact that he was, also played the bad guy in the Rihanna, one of the Rihanna videos. And he said, I had no idea who this Rihanna thing was. So, I do not know what pop culture is. So he's just a true Danish dude, or is he Swedish? I don't know. I probably should have looked that up first. But he's great. Really lovely angular face, great for but great, just a born movie baddie, right?
Yeah. Speaking of Swedish actors, Stellan Skarsgård and I were working on a project for about a year, and we the first night we met was at the premiere party for Mary Antoinette. Remember that film Sofia Coppola did? And I was at the bar getting a drink, and he walked up, and I'm just a big fan of Stellan Skarsgård, and I said, "Oh, let me buy you a drink." He goes, "My friend, it is an open bar." And we had a great time. And then a couple nights later, he was there filming the last Pirates of the Caribbean that he was in. And my friend Renee, who's a big fancy movie producer, the three of us went out to Barmar Mountain. We're having drinks, and I'll never forget Stellan Skarsgård. He goes, "I'm the most famous actor in Sweden." And okay, I bet you are. He's very famous. But he's hysterical. He says, he goes, "George Bush is a genius." And we're like, what? That's a strange thing for you to say. He's an avid socialist guy. And he goes, I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "Well, who else but George Bush could put on a pair of cowboy boots, but say the word y'all and convince the American people he's one of them?" I was like, "Oh, interesting." But he just, but that mentality, that Eastern Europe artist actor mentality is a lot of fun. So anyway, a small tangent there. So what else are we looking at, Lisa?
Well, I just want to give people the heads up that this weekend we have the HBO documentary about Tina Turner called Tina, which streams on the 27th, which Saturday evening. That's the first stream, for showing, and then it streams after that on HBO Max. And, Tina Turner is one of these unbelievable legends. I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't seen the entire thing yet, and hopefully I'll get around to doing that. But Tina is actually interviewed. It's, the lady herself. Dan Lindsay's the director, and with some great footage of her career. I mean, she's in her 80s now. She's looking back over her life. She's retired. And it's funny, I was thinking about Tina Turner because I remember when she released What's Love Got to Do With It, and back in the early 80s. And to me back then, she seemed like this sort of quite, I'm going to say, old lady. And now I'm just like, whoa, I'm older than her now than when she released that. It's just life, time. And I remember it because I think it was produced by the guys from Heaven 17. Martin Ware, I think, produced it, and I was a big Heaven 17 fan. And I remember seeing her on a show called The Tube, which was a sort of anarchic sort of rock show that was on every Friday in this country. It was live, and it was Paula Yates was one of the presenters, who was Bob Geldof's ex-wife, and she came on and just blasted this song out. I'm like, whoa, who is this force of nature? So at that point, she was sort of well into her 40s, I think, and you know, most people know her life. She was, you know, in this abusive marriage with Ike Turner, and, you know, came from a trailer park. I mean, she talks about all of this in the documentary. And then, you know, talks about also her sort of journey to forgiveness with it all. She went through some really tough times. And of course, Angela Bassett played her in the movie, the biopic, which was just, you know, what's love got to do with it? But it's really interesting to hear the story from her words, looking back over her life, and with such great access. You know, they couldn't have done a better job than speak to Tina herself from her home in Switzerland, which she rarely leaves these days. And I think one of the last things I saw her do was a performance of Proud Mary with Beyonce. And that was quite a few years ago at the American Music Awards or something, and absolute force of nature. So I would definitely look out for that one. If you've got HBO Max this Saturday, I think it's on around about 8:00 in the evening. I don't know what times I know. You'll have to check that out. It's very confusing, isn't it, when we get into time zones? I nearly stepped on this call an hour late today.
Yeah. I've started to put that GMT, and then I got an invite to something last year, the UTC Universal Time. I'm like, come on, somebody pick something here. Another HBO Max project is The Lady in the Dale. We've got the director of that is going to be on actually next Wednesday. After you and I chat, Lisa, we're going to chat with him. The director, it took him 9 years to get this project made. Labor of love, living in his car, about making a documentary about cars. Fascinating story. So we've got lots and lots to talk about. We're keeping you up to date, people.
It's the best we can do right now. And
how are you doing, Lisa?
Yeah, good, actually. Do you have time for an anecdote?
I've always got a time for an anecdote.
So I was inspired enough to stand as a Lee town councillor in the local. I know this is gonna make you laugh. And last night I actually went before the town council via Zoom to speak for 3 minutes on why I should be a town councillor. And there was only one seat. There was quite a few people in the running, but I'm very proud to say that I did not make town councillor, but I came second in the running, and I was absolutely delighted with the amount of votes I've got. And they've asked me to stand for another seat. I got an email this morning. So this could be the beginning of my fledgling political career. So inspired by your good self and being here. And honestly, the only reason I think I even got through the Zoom, because I was woefully underprepared, because I've just moved. I've just had my COVID jab. I'm working, and I was in a complete tears because I forgot that everything was happening last night. And I just thought, just pretend it's Brent. I'm talking to Brent. I'm talking to the good people of Iowa. What could possibly go wrong? So anyway, they had lots of movie picks to talk. No, they didn't.
Yeah, city council, incredibly important job. And Leon C. there, you could get the endorsement of your local royalty, Prince Michael Patty Bates of Sealand.
I think I need to get in touch with him. He's the man I need on my side.
So Friday, I'm going to put his picture up really quick before I let you go, since we're talking about Hollywood. Friday, Matt Del Negro co-starring with Kevin Bacon there on Showtime City on a Hill. Huge thanks to Showtime. They sent us an exclusive scene of Matt from the show. There's Matt from my movie Chasing the Hill, but he's going to be on this Friday. So very excited about that. All kinds of Hollywood. You got Hollywood there. We got Hollywood here. It's where you make it, folks.
As you said, state of mind.
Lisa Marks, it's always a pleasure. Folks, don't go anywhere. I'm going to play the intro as the outro. I'll be right back to wrap up the show. Oh, and thank you again for tuning in. And just one last look here. You're probably going to see this again. I just love these shots. I love getting drone footage. Cresco Theater, it was a very windy day, actually a windy weekend. It took me 3 trips back to the Cresco Theater there to get that shot. Thanks to the in-laws and Decora for hosting the fam this weekend so I could do this production. But big thanks to the Cresco Theater and Opera House. I'm sure we'll have the folks from there on, and Chris Nelson with Nelson Media, but just a lot of fun. And thanks to our guests today, Justin and Lisa. Always happy to chat with Lisa Marks all the way from the UK. And folks, if you have a suggestion on what we should be covering or different things to do, that's the actual email, roske@youriowa.com. It is 7:35. It's time for me to start my day. Have a lovely day. We're rooting for you.